review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. She is the founder of Connect Meditation, mindfulness and meditation teacher, guiding meditation journey with love, kindness, and compassion. No other than Miss Sonal Kalra.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Thank you for having me on your show.
Welcome to Book 101, Miss Sonal. And can you please introduce more about yourself?
Absolutely. First, I want to thank you and thank all the listeners, all the people who are viewing this. Thank you for your presence. A little bit about myself. As Daniel said, my name is Sonal, and I'm the founder of Connect Meditation, where we guide mindfulness and meditation journeys for groups in corporate and non corporate environments. And of course, we do it with a lot of love, kindness, and compassion. We also love to bring in modern day science. With this ancient practice, in order to make it more accessible to the current day practitioner. I'm also trained in somatic EMDR. So, in our programs, even if it's me or anyone else doing it, we try and get in somatic EMDR also into the picture. So, that's a little bit about what we do at Connect Meditation. And about me, as I was telling Daniel before that, I'm originally from India and now I'm based in Boston. I have a background in psychology, Western psychology. I've done my master's in business administration and MBA. I've also done my master's in labor laws. I've worked in the corporate world for a long time and then moved on into corporate training and life coaching. And finally, out of all the tools and processes that I had over the years, I realized that one process which had the highest ROI was meditation, mindfulness. And so during the pandemic, as Daniel, you would have seen, and I'm sure the listeners also would have seen, mental health was some a topic which came up so much. Of course, it was always there, but during the pandemic, we all realized it was right in our faces. And that's when I dived more into this and exclusively started giving more of a mindfulness meditation to all those who are ready and asking for it.
Miss Sonal Kalra. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. How do you define mindfulness in a way that transcends formal meditation and become a reality during daily chaos?
Beautiful. Such a beautiful question, Daniel. So I think first of all, there's you've so beautifully put a mindfulness and meditation. So if I could give a very simple definition of mindfulness, would be a present moment, non-judgmental awareness. So what do I mean by that is, let's give you an example. Say, Daniel, you come to me and you say, Sorul, I'm very angry. And I say, how angry are you? And Daniel says, every part of me is angry. And I say, 99% of you is angry and 1% is aware that you're angry. That's how you know you're angry. That 1% awareness, like the clouds and the sky. So the sky does not become the clouds. The thoughts of anger are just coming and the cloud is here. So that 1% awareness is what we are trying to practice in mindfulness. Meditation is just a way, sitting meditation, there are different kinds of meditations, of course, but looking at just sitting meditation is just one of the ways of practicing mindfulness. It's a beautiful way. It's like going to the gym in order to practice these muscles of mindfulness. But you can also do it. Initially, we do it in the sitting meditation, and then slowly we start to transfer it into our daily lives. So, if somebody is interested in that, what they could do is, in addition to their meditation, they could also look at certain mindful pauses during the day. So, they're trying to slowly bring it as part of their day. So, maybe just taking a minute to focus on the breath, center themselves, and then go back to what they were doing. It could be connecting to the five senses, just noticing five things around you that you can see, three things that you can hear, two things that you can taste. One thing that you can smell, something like that, just connecting to the senses. There could be a grounding practice, maybe just feeling your feet on the ground, just coming into the present moment. As you do that, then slowly, slowly from the sitting meditation, you start coming in and making it as part of your life. So then, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you're able to have the thought and the awareness of it. So you're able to look at whatever is arising in the moment, whether it be in your mind, whether it be in your body, and do it from that place of awareness. Why does this help you? A lot of times, when we have thoughts which are pleasant, we love them. But sometimes we also have thoughts which are uncomfortable. And that's when, after some time, we want relief from them. To illustrate my point, Daniel, I want to tell you a little short story. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Um, so this is incident. A person goes to a teacher in the Himalayas, a meditation teacher, and says that I am suffering. Please give me some relief. Give me something which can give me relief. And the teacher says, do you know you're suffering? So he says, of course I know I'm suffering. That's why I've come to you. I want relief. So the teacher says, if you know you're suffering, then you are the knower and the suffering is the known. You are the seer and the suffering is the scenery. You are in Sanskrit, which is this language in which a lot of ancient texts in India were written in. You are the drishta and the suffering is the drishya. So, do you see what the teacher is trying to do? He's trying to bring a distance in between the thought and the awareness of the thoughts. And once this distance comes, this distance is life giving. It's so empowering. Like, for example, say, to illustrate this, why is this so empowering? We'll come back to the story in a second. Say you are every day you come back from your office and you get stuck in traffic jams because it's peak hour in the evening, and you want to reach home fast but you can't because you're stuck in traffic jams every day and you get frustrated. And then one fine day you decide to take a hot air balloon ride around the same time that you usually come back from office home. Now the hot air balloon decides to come in the same highway that you take every day back from your office to your home, and now you see all that traffic. But because of the distance that you have, those lights, the headlights, seem like twinkling stars. It doesn't seem that overwhelming because of the distance. And the teacher is trying to bring that distance in between the thought and the awareness of the thought, the 99% and the 1% awareness. So then the person says, okay, I'll think about it and I'll come back to you. So the person goes back, he thinks, he contemplates, and he says, yeah, this kind of makes sense. So he comes back to the teacher and he says, I've got what you wanted to explain to me. I am now peaceful. Immediately the teacher says, you are not peaceful. You are the knower of your peace. So, this person was falling into a trap, which we all do in different phases, in different parts, in different topics of our in our lives, which is that we start identifying with our thoughts. I am angry. Rather than that, I am the awareness of that thought. So here is awareness and here are the thoughts. Objects of awareness can change. Awareness is the same. And that awareness, present moment, non judgmental awareness is what we practice in mindfulness. So initially, we do it with the breath. It could be different objects of meditation, but say, for example, if it's the breath, and one is comfortable with that, because I know some people are not comfortable with the breath also, so then we suggest some other objects. But say the person is comfortable, initially we just do it on the breath because it's something which is with us all the time and generally non-resistant for most of us. Just watching it up and down, it's so current and it's so present moment and it's so non-judgmental in that sense that you can easily do it generally for most of us. And then from the breath, we go through same present moment, non-judgmental, we come to the positive feeling thoughts. Then we bring it to the slightly negative, slightly irritating thoughts, not much. As per our unique and beautiful path of least resistance, we are developing vibrational muscle. And finally, we go on to the ones which are really, in that sense, more and more negative. Again, as per our unique and beautiful path of least resistance. And then when we have practiced it enough, we can bring it in our daily lives, even to situations which could be uncomfortable, but yet we are able to see it not in the thought, not wrapped up and wrapped up in the thought, but at the periphery where we can see the solution. Does it kind of make sense?
Makes sense, Miss Sonal, and very well said. Beautifully articulated. Why is cultivating consciousness more critical today than in pre digital eras? What unique modern soul viruses does it counter?
Um, can you give me your question? Can you just explain your question a little bit more?
Yes. So why is it cultivating your consciousness is more critical today than before?
I think even earlier, yes, there was a need, no doubt. But modern day stressors, what really tends to happen is that a lot of times, from what I've seen, is that in modern day, there are. So let me give you a little example. What happens is that we have a stress response, and typically the stress response we have this. So in our, if I can ask you to come along with me, there's this hand model to explain my answer as to why this is. I think I should just explain to you what's happening inside our brains, and then we'll go on to why is it important in today's times even more than yesterday, till earlier years. So this is a hand, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold my thumb over my palm and curl my fingers over my uh, thumb, and this becomes like a brain inside your head. So this is the hand model of the brain, and it's easy because it's always available, so one can explain it. So this is your spinal cord. This signifies the spinal cord, which is like a telephone in between your brain and your body, relaying messages up and down. Out here in this part is called the brain stem. So inside your brain, this is where the brain stem would be. The brain stem is something which is responsible for all the automatic things happening in your body, like for example, your heart beating, your breathing. This is something which also develops first in utero, and is also responsible for letting in all the information from your body in terms of how much information should come in inside to the brain. In moments of stress, when you're scared, there's trauma, there's a whole lot more information which would be let in because the brainstem doesn't know how what all you need to survive. So that's the brainstem. The brainstem, along with the thumb, signifies the limbic system, which is amygdala and your hippocampus, emotions and memory. This part, if I could call it, just for the sake of calling it, the lower part of your brain, and this is the upper part. There's no terms like this, but just for the sake of explaining, the lower part of your brain is what is responsible for known as the fight, flight, or freeze response. So what happens is in moments of stress, whenever the amygdala is something which is always scouting for danger. Is it safe out here? Is it dangerous? And the moment it feels danger, even if it's confused, it will tend to err on the side of saying there is danger. The moment it says that there's danger, it signals what is known as a fight or flight response, which means that sometimes we might like to stay in the situation and fight. If we can't fight, we might fly away. That means we might run away from the situation. But in situations where we cannot fight or fly, we tend to freeze, something like a deer in the headlights kind of thing. And those moments are when things get stuck inside our body, in our psyche, in our body. And that's when one needs to get back into a lot of getting unstuck into those what has got stuck out here. We'll come back to this particular thing in a little while. This, when we put the fingers over the thumb, this signifies your cortex. So this is the wrinkly part of the brain, and this makes maps of the external world. And Daniel, do you see these two middle fingernails?
Yes,
This
indeed.
this is right behind your forehead. This is called your prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex is what is responsible for your um, uh, decision making, intuition, kindness, compassion, empathy, language skills. The fact that you and I are able to understand each other. This is the part for you and for me which is active for this particular part of our understanding each other. This is also responsible for impulse control, emotional regulation. So a lot of beautiful things this part is active in, involved in. Now I'm going to show you a couple of expressions. Let me know what you think. So now I'm going to have an expression on my face and tell me what I would be feeling.
Surprise.
Exactly. Now another expression,
Wonder or
wonder.
wondering.
So could be that. And so now the fact is that you were able to get inside my nervous system. And even though we are different bodies, but yet you were able to get inside my nervous system and see what I'm feeling and relate back. That was because of your prefrontal cortex, this amazing part inside you, which is involved in you're able to make a decision of what the other person is feeling. Now, do you see this particular region is close to your thumb as well as close to this part of your palm?
Yes.
And of course the spinal cord. So what's happening is
Yes.
this part, the prefrontal cortex, is taking in information from all these areas and the external world, and it is able to when it is all aligned, this is able, we say that there's healthy influence outflow of information, and therefore there's resilience, and therefore this brain is integrated, the system is integrated, different parts are linked together. And according to so there's this a body called NIH, National Institute of Mental Health, and they have these studies called the Connectome Project, in which they're studying the human brain in order to see what contributes to our well-being for human beings. And they found out in 2015, there was a study found out that the single most important predictor of well-being, and they studied thousands of people, was integration, how different areas in the brain are linked together. And the prefrontal cortex is responsible for that. Now, what happens, Daniel, is in a lot of times when there's a lot of stress in the body, there's a lot of stress response, the brainstem will allow in a lot more information. And this part, the amygdala, will literally have what we call as signal the fight response, and you have a flipping the lid. Yeah. So now do you see this part which was responsible, just for the sake of explaining, which was responsible for kindness, compassion, empathy? Now you lost touch with that because you flipped your lid. Initially, you might just go like a little bit of irritation, and one fine day you go like this, right? Now, when you lose touch with all this, sometimes in anger, we might say something very rude. And later on, we feel like, what was I thinking? The fact is, you had lost touch with the thinking part of your brain, just for the sake of explaining. But what we
Yes.
have seen is that when we do certain processes, including mindfulness, it tends to come down, calm down. And not only that, next time when you're going to flip your lid, you will actually be able to be aware much more easily in the earlier stages, where it's easily you're able to take control of the situation and avert that situation. um, this is something I want to tell you a little incident. There's a little boy, because nowadays they're teaching mindfulness in schools also. So there's a little boy who comes and he says to his teacher in one of the schools, Miss, that means I'm gonna flip my lid. I need some time out. I need some time to just focus on my breath. I need to just get into centering part and then come back to the class. So, this is where it's so empowering, even to little ones.
Miss Sonal, as a founder of Connect Meditation, as a teacher, what are your short term and long term goals?
Lots of them. But before I come to my short term and long term goals, Daniel, just to answer your question, why is it so important in today's times? Because I feel that in today's times, sometimes you have stressors where you cannot fight and you cannot fly away and you're
True.
stuck. Your boss is, say, it's a toxic work environment and you can't leave your job. So you can't fight, you can't fly, and you get stuck. So I think in those kind of stressors, every day you're stuck in a traffic jam. It could be mild, it could be major ones, and that's where I feel that a lot of times we need mindfulness even more now. And now, of course, coming to your question into our long term and short term goals. So, lots and lots of exciting things happening at Connect Meditation. We are in the process of launching a beautiful, beautiful program in which we are going to be building emotional intelligence through mindfulness. And we're going to be doing it for, again, groups in corporate, non corporate environments. Emotional intelligence, as you know, is something which can help you cope up with the life stressors, increase your resilience, increase your well-being. And according to Daniel Goleman, of course, there are many other people who have spoken about emotional intelligence even before him, but according to his book, which is a bestseller, and all the philosophy that he stands for, we have in emotional intelligence, if you can say, four pillars: self-awareness, self-mastery, then empathy, and social regulation. And mindfulness is such a beautiful way to develop self-awareness, emotional regulation, which is the second pillar, and third being empathy. Again, mindfulness has shown time and again. You remember I showed you this, that the kindness, empathy, compassion, and we lose touch, and then mindfulness has been shown to get you back into touch with that. So these are the areas which tend to show a lot of growth in terms of kindness and compassion. We have not only organically, but we also have a lot of specific loving kindness meditations. But even though one may not even do those, but even organically, mindfulness will tend to bring in heartfulness, we call it. So this is a program that we're very excited about. We also in the process of having our digital offerings launched. We have a lot of free digital offerings on our website, but we also now want to get into a paid options also, which will be very very specific. We're trying to get in options which could be very personalized, just to a particular person in that sense. So lots of exciting stuff happening, short term as well as long term.
Good luck to your goals, Miss Sonal, and looking forward for more success. And what would be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be like you?
I think my suggestion would be that each one of us is so unique, so beautiful. Just honoring that wherever you are, wherever in your journey. And if there was something, not in terms of to be like me, because I think, like I said, everyone's so unique and so beautiful. So just honoring that. But if there's something that I could say, a suggestion, of course, from my side would be something which cultures throughout the centuries have said: know thyself. And not just know thyself as the human being, as the person, the personality, which is magnificent, the mind and body known as you, but also beyond that, enlarged self, which encompasses the mind and body and is so much more. So, going beyond that, transcending it into deeper, deeper states of consciousness, that's the only suggestion that I would have.
Thank you for your advice, Miss Sonal. And can you recommend a book that influenced your journey?
Okay, so I think I would recommend, if I would suggest, I would suggest the first one that's I thought I was really, really was very helpful to me, which is by Louise Hay, called "You Can Heal Your Life." For anyone who's starting out on this journey, that could be something which they may want to grab their hands on. It just talks about affirmations, positive thinking. For somebody who's a little deeper in the journey, advanced meditators, I would recommend this body of books or manuscripts. They are part of this school of thought from the Eastern wisdom traditions called non duality. And it's part of that school of thought. They're called the Upanishads. So the Upanishads were written thousands of years ago in India. And what we know as of now, there could be more, but documented 108. And some, I think around 11 to 13 of them are like major ones. And if one can study only one, if one has time only to study only one, then I would suggest the Mandukya Upanishad. And these Upanishads are only about consciousness. And for anyone who's an advanced meditator, maybe you might want to look up into these books.
Thank you for your recommendation, Ms. Sonal. And before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and of course, my book 101 review in its fifth season as well. Comedy 101 in its second season, food 101 in its fifth season too. Geography 101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast, Law 101 and Mental Health 101. Love Letters in third season, Movie 101 review in its fourth season, as well as my Music 101, Science 101, and Sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. Miss Sunal, if you could teach the entire world one consciousness skill to reduce global suffering, what would it be?
I would say if the breath resonates with you, just coming back to the breath, just one breath, if nothing else. If you can put a reminder on your phone, if you would like, if that's easy for you, and just one. If you can do three breaths, amazing. And if on the exhale, you can make it a little 1 or 2 seconds longer than the first breath, because the exhale is actually something which activates your parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest response. So just centering yourself, and your breath is typically with you. In case the breath is a little difficult, I totally understand. Then I would suggest maybe just sending loving thoughts to the people that you love. Just that loving kindness meditation, putting that thoughts of compassion in the world. That's what I would suggest.
Indeed, Miss Anal, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your advocacy as well as your business itself?
Absolutely. I would love, uh, in case anybody is interested in mindfulness meditation, you can check us out. Our website is www.connectmeditation.com. CONNECTMEDITATION.com. And my email ID is sonal@connectmeditation.com. I would love to hear from you. You can write us to my email ID. You can also write us to info@connectmeditation.com. We would love to hear from you.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Sonal Kalra because if you support her, more and more and more mindfulness consciousness to come. So, Miss Sonal, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Daniel, for your time, for your presence, and also big thanks to the listeners, the viewers.
Modicom people, see you soon.